Hey guys, and welcome on into the next NHL season preview show. And today we're going to be talking all about the Detroit Red Wings, looking at their offseason additions and subtractions, upcoming free agents, possible lineup, team future bets, and player future bets. To do that with me, I brought in Matt at Bridge City Bets. You can follow him on X/Twitter. Link is in the description below. Matt, introduce yourself to the audience and tell them a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, like you said, I'm Matt, the face behind at Bridge City Bets on Twitter, where I post all my sports bets. Try to do it every day for free, and yeah, lifelong Red Wings fan. So I'm excited to talk some hockey here.
Awesome. Yeah, and I noticed that you cap quite a few different sports,
Yeah,
or quite a few quite a few different leagues.
yeah, I
So there's
try to keep it diversified.
that's awesome. We're going to jump into it here, and we're going to start with the first segment, as we usually do on each show: additions and subtractions. And of course, as I usually do, I'll start with this segment, and I'll start with the subtractions list, which is what I usually do. And if you notice, it's quite a big list here for the Detroit Red Wings. Um, not going to go through each player on the list. Just going to highlight the ones that I think are the most important ones here. Daniel Sprong, despite being a fourth liner, the guy has some offensive talent. So it's kind of sucks to see him go. David Perron, getting up there in age, um, probably a best for him to find a fresh start. Maybe get a younger player in the lineup to move up in the lineup. James Reimer goes off to Buffalo. Shane Gostisbehere, I think if you look at this list, I think he's one of the biggest losses for the Detroit Red Wings. Offensively, he's been really good the last few seasons for a few different teams. Looking at additions, Jack Campbell is a surprising one to be added here into the goalie situation that the Wings have, and Cam Talbot as well, who's projected to be the starter. But with Detroit, I think things could be. I think we've got goalie. I think anyone can take the starting job. I don't think it's set in stone, but we'll get to that a little bit later. And then Tarasenko, I think, is the biggest addition. Eric Gustafson as well, some defensive depth, but Tarasenko, the biggest addition, I think here. And if he can fit well here on this top six, add some much needed offensive production for the Wings, who are in a tough division with a lot of good teams. Matt, what do you think here? This list, quite a big list. What do you think here overall about the Wings offseason?
Yeah, I like the Tarasenko signing. Obviously gives depth to the top six there. Kind of solidifies that forward core. Uh, Coming off two-time Stanley Cup winner, brings that leadership that you lose from David Perron. And yeah, 55 points last season between Florida and Ottawa. He'll play a bigger role with the Wings, I think, than he did with Florida during their postseason. So yeah, if we can get the same kind of production out of him, then yeah, I really like that signing for the top six. Jack Campbell, that's more of a depth play, I think, kind of a mentorship role for the AHL. Uh, Talbot should be the starter, but like you said, it's really congested on that depth chart. And he's going to be 37 to start the season. But he did have an all star with the Kings. So he did have a good year. Um, I just don't know how many starts he's going to get because he started like 52 games or something last season. He was the oldest goaltender to play in 50. So I'd like to see his workload maybe lessen with the Wings. but still get that same stat line that he had with Los Angeles. Uh, Gustafson, yeah, more of a depth play on D. Should see some power play time for the Wings. Replacing Gostisbehere is a huge ask for him, but I think we do see a little more minutes than what he played last year out of him. And then yeah, Sprong, even though he was a fourth line guy, he had a good year last year. Didn't like seeing him leave. Perron, same kind of thing. And you lose the leadership that he brought. And yeah, Gostisbehere had something like 55 points last season on manning that top power play unit. So it's going to be a big role to fill for Gustafson, and yeah, we'll see what they do here.
Yeah, it might have to be like a committee type thing where a lot of people are going to have to try to help to bring that production. I think for the Wings. We'll go on to the next segment here, which is upcoming free agents, and this is a much smaller list when you look at it. Two goalies, Ville Husso, Alex Lyon, two of the three goalies that are going to be fighting for a starting job here. So yeah, Jack Campbell, if he is seeing the net here for the Wings, then that means that there's a ton of injuries for the Wings if he's seeing the net at all. But Ville Husso, Alex Lyon, a few forwards, a few defensemen. Matt, we'll start with you first with this segment. Who are the most important guys that you think the Wings should be re-signing in the offseason? And who would you be okay if they let go elsewhere?
Yeah, I'll start with the top there, Patrick Kane. He's an older guy, so I wouldn't be surprised if he moved on. But obviously, it's kind of up to him at this point in his career whether he wants to play or not. Tyler Mott could be a good long-term guy, kind of deeper on the third, fourth line. But depends how his season goes this year, I think, whether they bring him back. And same with Christian Fischer. 19 points last year. He's going to be a bottom six forward. So you'd like to see a little bit more production out of him, maybe. And then moving over to D, I wouldn't be too upset if Petrie left. And same with Mata, because the Wings prospects that are coming up are just that much upside that I think they could fill in those holes if those guys left. And then Husso, he's had some lower body injuries these last couple years. So if he can stay healthy, I wouldn't mind him as like a backup. And then Alex Lyon had a good year last year as well. Kind of ran out of gas down the stretch because they, with the injuries to Husso and Reimer, he saw way too much work for what was being asked of him. So I could see either one of those guys being brought back as a backup for next season.
Awesome. Yeah, the Wings have Sebastian Cossa waiting in the wings. Eventually, one day, I'm sure Wings fans are hoping that he can take the starting job. Might be a couple years away still, but there's nothing wrong with letting a goalie develop. I'm one of those people that are not interested in rushing a young goalie into starting. I feel that way about Jesper Wallstedt from Minnesota. Um, I'm okay if he doesn't start or if he has a lot of time in the AHL this year for one more year. But we're not talking about the Wild today. We're talking about the Wings. When it comes to the goalies, Husso and Lyon, really, in my opinion, both guys are replaceable, depending on what goalies are on the free agent market next season. I don't think that the Wings are going to be rushing to extend either one of these guys. I really think it depends on how they play this season, uh, and that will kind of determine if one of them gets re-signed. I'd be surprised to see them both get re-signed, but um, especially with Talbot signed for 2 years, I
Yeah.
believe. Let me make sure
Yeah, I believe it was two.
that's correct. Yeah, he signed for this year and next year. So it wouldn't surprise me to see one of these goalies go. The defense, yeah, I think all three of those guys are definitely replaceable. So I think wouldn't be shocked to see all three of them go if the Wings do have a bad season, especially on defense, and they want to revamp it. You let those guys go. And Patrick Kane, he seems to like Detroit. He seems to like Detroit, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him stay for another season. Um, if the Wings aren't getting to, if they don't make the playoffs this year, um, if it doesn't really appear like next year they're going to make the playoffs, I could see him going to chase a cup somewhere else. But Detroit is a team with a lot of young guys, which is the perfect segment right here into the next segment. Possible lineup here. And Detroit is one of these teams that have some question marks. Three guys, Lucas Raymond, Jonathan Berggren, and Moritz Seider, are all not signed yet. As we record this video, all three guys are unsigned. The Wings currently have 17.6 million cap room. So really, I would be shocked to see Raymond and Sider not re-sign at least. Berggren you can probably get for a cheaper deal, I would assume. So I would be surprised not to see these guys resign. And I'm just noticing that for some reason I don't have Patrick Kane on this list for some reason. So I apologize to everybody. He should definitely be on that top six forward list. So I apologize. I'm just noticing that now. But yeah, you can probably expect to see him on that Tarasenko line instead of Berggren there, I would assume. But yeah, I don't know how that happened. But that top line is great. Dylan Larkin, definitely a player prop guy that I was targeting last year. His anytime goal prop a lot of the time. Lucas Raymond as well. A lot of value on his props last year. So hoping to see that again. The second line, of course, will look better if Patrick Kane was there.
Yeah.
But overall, the top six is really good for the Wings. I like the top six. The bottom six, that's where there's some question marks. Michael Rasmussen, I feel like there's more in him. He's shown flashes at times. If he could take a step forward, I think that would really help the Wings in a playoff chase. Going to the defenseman, Edmondson is one of those young guys you were talking about. The Wings will be looking for him to have a good season here. Moritz Seider, of course. And then the bottom pair, Mata and Gustafson. Hopefully, Gustafson helps solidify the defense a little bit there. We got some depth guys as well. And then the three goaltenders. Who's going to be the starter? Who's going to be the backup? I think that's all up in the air at this point. So when you look at the possible lineup for the Wings here, I think there's a lot of question marks at this point in time as to how it's going to look on opening night. Matt, what do you think about this possible lineup? What would you like to see differently? And what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, like you said, the top six is really solid with DeBrincat, Kane, Raymond, Tarasenko. I think they're all quite interchangeable. If one guy struggles, they can shuffle that around. Curious to see if Kane plays on that top line with DeBrincat, given their chemistry from Chicago. But yeah, they're all interchangeable. Kane had almost a point per game last season. So I really like this top six. Bottom six, like you said, is a lot of question marks. Rasmussen, obviously, there's I'm hoping there's more from him. Um, and Tyler Mott's a solid fourth line guy. So Joe Snively, he's bounced around pros and minors the last couple years. Don't know if we see him kind of see a lot of minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if one of the younger guys kind of breaks through in training camp. But the Wings, they like to be patient with their young guys too. They like to have them develop and get meaningful minutes in the minors rather than throw them on the back end of the lineup. So yeah, the bottom six, definitely a lot of questions to fill, and we'll see here opening night what that brings. Defense obviously looks a lot different if the Cider deal doesn't get done soon. And yeah, I'm hoping they can get them done before the start of the season. I'm not too concerned that they don't get done before December 1st, I think it is. Should be looking at about 8 million for the Cider Raymond deals, somewhere in that range. And then Berggren, obviously, just a cheaper uh, bet on yourself kind of deal. I could see Edvinsson playing with Cider on that top pairing if the Wings kind of solidify that depth behind them. Obviously, Petrie didn't have a great year last year. And yeah, Gustafsson could maybe see him moving up to the second pairing with some time on the power play. But yeah, defense is definitely a scary situation here if Cider doesn't get signed. And then moving on to the goalies, we probably see Talbot and Lyon kind of get a split. I don't think either one of them is the surefire starter come opening day. And then Husso obviously working back from his injury. They'll be evaluating him early on, see what we have.
Awesome. So it might be like a ride the hot hand type of deal when it comes to goaltending. Whoever is playing well uh, can probably be the starter. The Wings. We'll go on to the next segment here, which is team future bets. Looking at future bets for the Wings this season, and I feel like I say this a lot, which I do, but I don't see the Wings for any of the top four bets. And really, when I'm looking at it, it's very rare that I'm pulling the trigger on any of the top four bets. So I'm not one of those people that have 10 different Stanley Cup bets in hand. I did have three last year, so that's actually more than I usually do. But the Wings, I can't look at them for any of those four bets. Not now. I think they're a few years away from really contending for either of those. Make the playoffs. Yes, plus 130 is a little bit interesting. Um, for me, though, the issue with betting any future bets with the Wings is the fact that the three guys, especially Sider and Raymond, are unsigned. And if we're getting close to opening night and they're not signed yet, if the season starts and they're not signed yet, it's really, really hard to bet the point total with the Wings. So, really, for me, if you're looking at future bets for the Wings, this is something you want to do during the season. I think this is something you want to wait a team you want to wait on a bit and see how things go. Least points in the NHL plus 8,000. That's not the Wings. That's not going to be the Wings, but I don't think they're going to have an awful season. I do think they're going to be. I think that 90.5 point mark isn't a bad number at all. I think they're right around that mark. So for me, no bets here for the Wings. Last season they had 91, and now their point total is 90.5. So it's really difficult for me to pull a trigger here on any of these bets. Matt, do any of these bets here for the Wings catch your eye for this upcoming season?
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page as you. It's hard to bet these lines without knowing the status of Sider and Raymond. Uh, they should be a wild card contending team. Um, they were right there last year, lost to Washington on a tiebreaker, regulation wins, I think it was. Um, yeah, playoffs could be interesting. Like I said, they should be right there in the mix. Um, but yeah, other than that, point total 90.5. I'd maybe lean to the over just based on they've been trending in the right direction for the last couple seasons here. But yeah, Stanley Cup, Conference, President's Trophy division, that's not in the cards for this team.
Awesome. Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. Um, Looking at player future bets, quite a few different players listed here. Raymond being one of them, which I would definitely. I'll start with Raymond. I would stay away from his props at this moment, at least. Now, if he gets signed here, he could get signed before this video actually airs, because we are recording it here a couple days before it airs. So you never know what can happen. I've done these preview shows before, and then had some breaking news happen the next day. So you never know what's going to happen here. But uh, I'll go back and start with DeBrincat here. Last season, he had 20, the last 2 years, he had 27 goals, 67 points last year, 66 the year before. So his props here are listed a little bit higher the last couple of years. And something else, DeBrincat has played in all 82 games for the last 3 years. He's played in every game. So that's something when you are looking at a player prop for future bets, you do want a player that is healthy. So that has applied to DeBrincat the last few seasons. Of course, with the numbers the way they are, I don't really have any interest there. Larkin is at 32 and a half goals. He had 33 last year and only 68 games played, 32 and 80 games played in 22-23, and 31 and only 71 games played in 21-22. So he kind of, if you look at it, he had a down year when he played 80 games and had 32 because last two seasons before that, he's playing under 72 games and he's still hitting that 30 goal mark. So if you think Larkin is going to stay healthy this year, I would look at the goals over at 32 and a half. Point total here 69 last season, 79 the season before, and 69 the season before. So with Larkin, you're really looking at if you're really banking on him being healthy. I think if you're going to look at his props. Raymond, he had 31 goals last year and 72 points. The season before, he played in uh, only 74 games, only 17 goals and 45 points, which was a step down from the season before, 23 goals, 57 points. So 2 to 3 years he's played in all 82 games. So Raymond, looking at what he did last year and his numbers here, I would want the over if he is signed, and if he is going to be on that top line, then I would look at the over for his potentially both of these. But those are two bets I would wait until opening night to potentially look at, or at least until he gets signed. Patrick Kane, he had 20 goals last year, 47 points in 50 games played. Uh, the season before, he played in 54 games with Chicago, 19 games with the Rangers. He hasn't played a full 82 game season since 17-18. He played 82 games, 81 and 18-19. And then ever since then, um, he's played in less. He's missed games. Last season, only playing in 50. So while I did cash on Patrick Kane, and I will be betting his props this season when he is playing and he's healthy, when it comes to future bets on him at his age and his health history, I can't recommend betting anything with him. And then Cam Talbot here, 21 and a half wins. From everything that Matt has said and everything that I've said, looking at the way the goaltenders are set up for this season, I don't know how you can take the over with Talbot here. 21 and a win, 21 and a half wins is a high total if he's not going to be seeing a majority of the starts. Did have 27 with LA last year, 54 games played. The season before with Ottawa, he only played in 36 games. He had 17 wins. And then previous years in Minnesota, he played well. But he kind of had a down year with Ottawa. Better year with LA. I don't view Detroit's defense as a particularly strong defense when it comes to defensively. I think they've got some offensive talent there. But when it comes to defensive ability, I think it's not the strongest. And now Talbot. So really, what I'm trying to say here is under with Talbot wins under 21 and a half. And I'm not saying he's going to have a horrible season, but I don't know if he plays in enough games to get to 21 and a half. Now, I'm not pulling the trigger on it because it's very possible he plays really well. And he does get a large majority of the starts. That's very possible in a goalie situation like the Wings have. And then Lalonde, Jack Adams, I think it would take a big season from the Wings. Like if they are in second in the division and if they're competing for the division title and they make the playoffs, then I could see him being a contender for the Jack Adams. But as of now, no. So right at this moment, no future bets for the Wings, but I am potentially looking at Raymond depending on what happens with him. And then I do lean with Talbot under. Matt, player future bets for the Wings. Do any of these catch your eye? Do you think any player is going to have a good season this year?
Yeah, I think with Talbot, it's under a pass on that win total. 27 last year on a much better defensive team with the Kings. And yeah, I just don't know if we see that many starts from him. Kane, like you said, only played 50 games last year. He signed late with the Wings. I think it was late November he ended up signing. So he's 47 points is almost a point per game. So if he can stay healthy, I maybe lean to his points over. And then, well, 20 goals too. So if he can see some time with DeBrincat maybe on that top line, I could see over 25 and a half. Raymond is I'm staying off of that for right now until he gets signed. And Larkin, like you said, it's up in the air with his health. I if I knew he was going to be healthy for the full season, I could see over on both of those. And then with DeBrincat, I think he can get to 30 this year, but again, I'm holding off until I know more with the Raymond situation.
All right, perfect. Right on half an hour, right on the dot. Anything else you want to say about the Wings season here before we finish off the show?
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they do this year. See if any of these younger guys kind of crack that NHL roster. Marco Casper, Carter Mazer, Nate Danielson. Sebastian Koss is probably still a year or two away, but yeah, it's exciting hockey to have them competing for playoffs once again.
Yeah, they'll be there soon. All right, everyone, go give Matt a follow on Twitter/X, Bridge City Bets, in the description below. And thanks for watching, and we will see you guys on the next show. Thanks, guys.